to our last workshop of the day. My name is Sofia Teodoro, and I'm a program manager with HECO, and actually this is our baby, one of the programs that I manage is a parent and component. And Karen is one of our wonderful and most seasoned and parent educators. So I have the honor of introducing her. Karen is a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. She has over 6 years of experience working with individuals, families, organizations, businesses, and faith communities. Karen is also the founder of Helping Hands People Study.
Before we get started, Sophia, can you walk us through the reading?
So I like to invite you all to stand up, please. And so what we're going to do, we're going to go like this jellyfish. And let the body move. And we're going to sway a little bit. Then you want to stretch, we're going to stretch. You want to go down here. And then I'm going down the shoulders. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to rub our palms. And we're going to rub a little bit harder. Does it feel like it's burning already? Is it pretty hot? It's not, no? Yeah, okay, so we're going to rub a little harder. Oh, it's fine. You can tell. The hand sanitizer. Okay. Oh, okay, now my hands are feeling a little bit warm. Are yours feeling a little bit warm? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to separate your palms. Do you feel that? Do you feel like that tingling sensation? Okay. We're going to create a ball. So kind of like gauge how intense this ball is going to feel. And then we're going to like add a form to it. Okay. So I'm going to call this survival. This is what I went through. This is what you went through throughout the week. And these are the feelings and emotions that we probably in that moment weren't able to clock, or the feelings, emotions that we had to suppress in order to get through that moment, through that week, through that day. This is what we don't want to deal with for many reasons. And as simple as it is, it's just to survive. Maybe we were driving, right, and the kids are in the backseat crying, and I let my anger out. It probably wasn't going to be a safe space. Or maybe I was at work, and I had such an intense dynamic with somebody that I really cared for. And I didn't want to come to work activated or crying. So whatever it is that you had to do to survive, this is it. Okay. And so what we're going to do right now, we're just going to simply place it to the side. And what we're going to do again, we're going to sway our bodies this way. Just gently. And I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. And all we're doing is now we're going to swing back and forth, side to side. And we're going to take a deep breath. So 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. And continue breathing. As you're breathing, I don't want you to think about scenarios. I don't want you to think about incidents. Just simply connect yourself with your body right now. How does your body feel? Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. If you can, if you can name the emotion that your body's feeling right now, what name would you give it? And let's hold on to that name. Let's name that emotion. Whatever it is that you're feeling, attach name to it. Like bring that to the floor part of your mind. So I'm consciously thinking right now this emotion. And then what we're going to do, we're going to inhale. And then as you exhale, gently push that emotion up. So 1, 2, 3. And let it go. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. And continue breathing on your own. So the way this works is that every time I let something go, I'm letting go because I want to create space for something new to come to replace it, a new adventure, a new emotion. So I'm creating balance in my life with that duality. So whatever emotion that you let go of right now in this moment, replace it with something that is going to ground you, that's going to help you. Okay? And that's what we're going to now focus on when we inhale. So 1, 2, 3, inhale that emotion that you're thinking of right now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One last time. Now as you gently open up your eyes, we're going to do this again. And we're going to compare. So the palm. We're going to feel them becoming activated by their energy, by their vibe. And then we're going to compare our circles, okay? Our little balls. So, and maybe if my ball was this big, and now it's right here, what do you think that means? I probably was able to let go. So, maybe my stress level was this big, but now it's like this. But what if right now my ball is like this? Does that mean that we did it wrong? Absolutely not. It simply means that this is what if this is manifesting outside of yourself already. Now you get to know and visualize what we get to work with. Because maybe we weren't even aware. Were you even aware that you had this switch inside of you? But now I get to see it because I felt it, and this is real. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna play with this energy, and I think mine's was like this way. So I'm gonna acknowledge it. And as I'm playing with my energy, with my emotions, with this thing that I was able to let outside my body, this is still survival. But am I and are you back on Monday? Is today Monday? No, right? What day of the week is it today? And where are you at? So whatever it is that you had to go through to survive on Monday, on Tuesday, even today in the morning, it's in our past. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to deal with it anymore. It just means that for this moment, you don't need this right now. Because we are here with Karen. And we're not going through those scenarios. My kids are not here with me. Activate me. I'm not stuck in traffic right now. Neither are you. We're here in each other's company. So what we get to do now is we get to give it back to the earth. So we're going to give it back to the earth. And I get to give it gratitude. Thank you so much. Creating emotions of survival because you allowed me to survive that moment or those moments. But I could let you go right now. I could put this to the side and I could even let it go if I want to because I'm not in that moment anymore. Okay, so I'm letting this go. And you know what? Sometimes we're conditioned to believe that we call this like a heavy, dark emotion. These are the bad things. No, like what I learned to understand is that I am human, and in order for me to be human, I have a whole range of emotions, and every single emotion serves a purpose. Every single emotion is able to get me moving. But my goal in life isn't just to survive. I want to thrive. I want to be resilient. So what I'm able to do is let that go. I'm able to give it thanks because it served its purpose. I was able to be here. But because that isn't something that I'm going to attach a negative connotation to it, I'm giving it gratitude because it didn't stop. And as a woman, I know that I'm able to give life and then also give life too. So what we're going to be able to do is we acknowledge that as human beings, we are life givers in many different ways, not just like through the process of giving birth. We are vibing off each other. We are connected. Our brains are wired for connection. And as long as we're wiring for that positive connection, we're creating life. So in this moment that I gave back my feelings and this vibe and this energy, I'm going to look at that bush right there in the back, so it won't me to look back. And everything that you just let go and release is actually feeding that plant out there. So whenever you come back to the center, I want you to look at that right there. And I want you to remember that nothing from you is ever going to kill or hurt anything else in the living future because you are able to give life. And all we needed to do was acknowledge that I am living and I have all these emotions. And as soon as I let it go, and maybe I could let it go to maybe Mother Earth, I'm going to continue that cycle of life because I am that powerful and sorry. So thank you so much for doing that.
Right, thank you guys for participating in that. I know it's not always easy to jump right in, so you guys are awesome. You did. Okay. So a little bit about myself, like Maria said, I've had 6 years of experience. I got introduced to eco-parenting in 2012, 3 months after my own domestic violence situation, where I was assaulted. And remember what Louise shared in there, that we're not going to be sharing any gruesome details, only the headlines, and that's all, right? Because it's not therapy, so it's just a workshop. But it is something that I did go through, and it's crazy as it sounds, what brought me to understand ECHO, and I'm thankful for learning nonviolent trauma-informed parenting. And for the past few years now, 2013, that is when I became founder of Helping Hands Resource Center, which is an organization that helps survivors of domestic violence with their basic needs, not just of food and clothing stuff, but also these types of services. Because a lot of the things that we go through, we're not even aware of, because it's acceptable in our cultures, it's acceptable in our families. So when I began to talk about it, I kind of like rattled the cage in my family because they did not want me to talk about it. Right? Violence was something that I grew up with, and it was a learned behavior, taught behavior that was passed down from 7 generations before me. And that meant that if I didn't make a change, then it was going to continue on to my children. I have 3 children, ages 22, 18, and 10. So I have them all over the place as well. But when this experience first happened, my daughter was 2, and she's kind of like the one that didn't know how to understand the world with this trauma that had just happened, and her and my son witnessed the violence. So being 2 years old, you don't have words for it, but her behavior showed that she had a lot of trauma. And I didn't know what to do or how to help her. And in the shelter, in these services, a lot of the times, they also are not trauma informed, so they don't know how to help you or give you the proper services. So I was so thankful that ECHO came in, taught me that this is a daily practice, that it's not going to go just overnight, it's not going to go away that fast, but it was something that I had to practice every single day. And that's why I took this nonviolent communication and I ran with it, and I haven't looked back, because I knew that I wanted to change my family, and I had to begin to change myself in order to change my family. Right? So that's just a little bit about myself. And in this workshop today, you're going to be learning about trauma and the essentials to healing yourself and your children, right? Because if we're hurt and wounded, our children are going to be the same, because they model right after what we do. In this workshop, we will also gain the understanding of ACEs. Have any of you ever heard of ACEs before? Yeah, some of you are familiar. And that makes me happy too. Because that means that you are aware of childhood experiences that can affect children, families, adults, and our behavior and how we are. So it's really important for us also to be to have that understanding of the serving, so that you can give this to your families that you're also serving. It's not meant to diagnose anyone, it's just a measurement. And it's really good for us to see where we are. And we're also going to learn regulation tools. So why trauma-informed parenting, for me at least? As a survivor, I learned that using my voice was very powerful, and that it carries a lot, and I was able to build a foundation of empathy, love, and understanding, which was something that I did not have. I grew up in violence. And so learned behavior, right? Violence creates more violence. And that's kind of how I was parenting my children. I became a parent at 15 years old, so we're aware of ACEs. We know that's one of them. And I also witnessed a lot of violence at a very young age. Like you saw in my bio, I was also abused in a lot of ways. So It made sense when ACEs came to my life that I was like, oh, I need education and awareness because I'm not crazy. Me being sick makes sense why I'm sick all the time, right? So through education, I learned that trauma is not a disease, even though it creates diseases, but it's an injury of the mind, body, and soul and spirit of the person. Trauma lives in our brain, and therefore it's stored within our body. So our body remembers what it's been through. I was assaulted from behind, so I don't like that. I've had to educate my family's parents, children, strangers, that that's not something that I'm okay with now, right? Because of what I've been through, I know now that I have to put in place self-care measures for myself as well. When we learn to become trauma-informed, we give our children and families the needed tools of love and restoration, right? That's something that I wanted to have a reconnection with my own family, which was my mom, my dad. My first abuser was my parent, and that's really hard to understand when someone is hurting you but yet loving you at the same time. So it creates this deception, right? And you don't understand it, so that's why you choose a violent partner, because you've had a violent parent, right? We gain clarity by healing our own childhood and model resiliency to our children, because we create peace with that child within that is still there. A lot of the times we're not even aware that it's there. So right now, I'd like for us to turn to our packet. Make a have. I don't have. So, okay. Oh, thank you. So these are just our principles of trauma-informed nonviolent parenting. Can I have a volunteer read the top one, please? Anyone?
In trauma-informed nonviolent parenting, we define violence as anything that hurts the heart, mind, body, or spirit of the child. This includes physical punishment, manipulation, and shame.
So Echo defines violence to be anything that hurts the mind, body, soul, or spirit of another person, or living thing. Right? I don't have to hate you to be violent towards you. My voice, my actions is enough, because that's how the brain perceives it. All right, can I have another volunteer read the second bullet?
Children are born loving, curious, trusting, all human beings. We must remember to always see them in this light and to encourage these natural traits to them throughout their childhood.
I'm getting a little bit more down. Parenting is not something that is done to a child, but the process of being in a relationship together. Parents are allies to their children, offering support as they work with, not against them, to build mutual understanding, respect, and honesty. Can I have somebody read the bottom? Last of them read.
Each person's reactions and feelings are respected, heard, and recognized as true. Through deep listening, empathy, and loving speech, children are guided to learn nonviolent ways to express their feelings and needs and to resolve their problems. This is a process of building emotional competency and emotional intelligence.
Now let's turn our page around. Now the last one on the bottom.
Trauma-informed nonviolent parenting is a daily practice in skills such as empathy, self-regulation, and problem-solving, skills that both parents and children can learn.
So obviously we don't have time to go over the whole form, but that's why it's your homework, so you guys can review it on your own. But that one is the main one that for me was that one, right? Where it says trauma-informed nonviolent parenting is a daily practice. Sometimes it's a minute-to-minute practice. I have to be honest, especially if you've had a lot of trauma in your own life. But at the same time, it teaches you how to gain and how to build the tools of empathy, of self-regulation, and problem solving. A lot of the times when we go through trauma, we don't know how to regulate or how to self-regulate, therefore we can't co-regulate with our children. right? And then we will expect them to regulate, but they don't know how to. Right? We're going to see a little bit about what trauma is. So earlier today, we've heard about trauma, just means toxic stress. Sounds like a scary word, but it really does all it means, toxic levels of stress. And these are some of the events that can cause trauma in a person's life, which is divorce, domestic violence, of course, that's the big one. Death in the family, or watching somebody be sick and then lose their life. The new birth in family, transitions or big movings, also homelessness. I forgot to add there war as well, so it does happen to our vets. And these are effects that affect who we are and the way that we behave in the world. Right? Remember, trauma is an interpretation of a life event. So, for example, if her and I were in, her and you, hi, if we're both in the same car accident, she would be okay and I'm not. Why is that? We were in the same car accident. That's how my brain interprets not safe. The moment that our brain switches that off, that says, I'm not safe, then it goes to this part of the brain. We're going to learn it through our hands. So everybody show me your hand like this. So show me your face, yes. So this is the lower part of the brain, this is the midbrain, and this is the high part of the brain. We're going to see what each part does. So our alarm center activates instinctive behavior, survival, and body functions. So for example, digestion. If we're not eating, you're fasting for like 12 hours, not taking care of that, right? Hunger. That's going to take you to that fight, freeze, or flight response. Not just trauma, but also that. I didn't write it here, but not sleeping, not resting, that's going to take you to that place. Breathing, that means if you have asthma, if you're sick, right, you have that congestion, you can't breathe, that's going to take you to that place of survival. Heart rate, if we're drinking a lot of coffee or we have a lot of anxiety, that tightness in our chest is going to take us to survival mode. Now, the limbic midbrain is in charge of processing, and this is processing emotions and response to stress. So, for example, this is where social bonding, fear, separation, of distress lives. This is like the file cabinet of all your memories, good and bad, from the moment you were in your mama's womb. So right now, that's when your brain began to register. So if a mom that is pregnant is going through trauma, now she is sharing that nervous system with her baby, then now her baby will be born with that nervous system. And that's what happened to my child and myself. I was going through domestic violence when I was pregnant. So my daughter was born with high levels of trauma. She was diagnosed, not because of that, but she was diagnosed with PTSD at 5 years old. And it was because of this type of parenting that I was able to assist and support her and observe what she was going through and help her through it. You know, redirect those big feelings instead of shutting down, because I also didn't know what to do, especially how she would act. And then the high part of our brain is our frontal cortex. This is responsible for our creativity, future planning, our sense of safety. Okay? This is where our imagination, problem solving, our kindness, our empathy lives. This is where I give empathy or I receive empathy. A trigger is people, places, things, smells, those types of things. If you've gone through trauma, maybe a place is scary now because it reminds you of that, or a sound, or a taste, or it is not always scary. Maybe an apple pie reminds you of your grandma, you know, or maybe a lotion is like, oh, it smells like my mom, you know. All the scents are also really powerful in how we activate the brain. So when the brain is offline, this is what happens to the brain. It shuts down, it comes here. Now, if I'm in this part, can I learn? So if I'm sending a child to school with a survival brain, can they learn? No. This is how our brain learns, when it's reactivated, when it's back online. But if it's offline, then I can't learn. And it's literally shutting down with, I can't see you or hear you because it's about me. That's what the brain needs at that moment, right? Alright. Now I would like for us to look at the 3 circles of nonviolence, which is in your packet with something. So our parenting classes are 10 weeks, and this is part of our classes as well as understanding each circle that it connects to create nonviolent trauma-informed parenting. And the first one is where you learn about the brain and child development, learning the ages and stages of your child and also our basic brain, not just our child, but our brain as well. You'll learn about self-reflection, your childhood, putting peace with that, right? And reflecting on that and just closing that door in a sense. Then we also learn about connecting communication, that's empathy. We are not born with learning how to give empathy or even receive it. It's something that we learn. So it comes through the primary caregiver. So if we're not able to give that, it's because it's never been modeled to us. We don't know how to give what we've never received. And when all these 3 circles connect, then this is what creates trauma-informed nonviolent parenting. I know earlier Louise went through this. Do you guys remember Power With, Power Over? This is something that we teach on week 2 so that you guys can begin to see the paradigm. Paradigm just means sets of ideas. And here we're inviting you to look at 2 sets of ideas, which is the power over or the power with. And since we don't have time to do a natural parenting class, it's for you guys to look over and see, where am I? It doesn't mean that we're always going to be in trauma-informed, even though that's where we want to be, but that it's a continuum, we're going back and forth, but this is where our goal is to always want to be informed, right? Now, for those of us that already know ACEs, and this is going to be a little review, let's take your packet, turn it around to the survey. So ACEs was just given Kaiser and CDC did this study for 300 patients, and it showed the adverse childhood experiences that harm a child's developing brain and leads to changes in how they respond to stress and damaging their immune system with their effects that showed decades later. And for me, I was a sick child all the time. Like every other month, I was in the doctor. And my mom was always stressed out because she didn't know why I was so sick. And then I grew up and I'm still sick. And then, getting diagnosed with fibromyalgia and all this stuff because the consequences of a lifelong exposure to violence and trauma. And now what I would like for us to do is take the survey. I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes. There's also another survey on the back which talks about our resiliency, and it's the Biverix Resiliency Survey. So that way you can measure not necessarily just the childhood experiences, because you might not have any, and that's amazing, right? Because I always tell our parents, those of the parents that had no trauma as children, you guys are the resilient adults that teach us that did have this type of childhood how to be strong, that it is possible to heal, and then those that didn't know that they had trauma, it's just good awareness to have. This is not meant to diagnose, it's just a measurement. Okay, so we're going to take 5 minutes so that you guys can take the survey. Right, so everybody get a chance to fill it out? Yes? So we're not going to be collecting that. We're not going to be asking you your score or any of that. But I know that it can sometimes be activating, or I don't know, a lot of people have different views of it, and that's why we give you both ACEs and the Biverix one, so you can see your resiliency as well. I do share mine because when I found out, it gave me just peace, and it gave me an answer to why all these things are happening, and then kind of like what road to take. And mine is a 9, and the first time when I saw that, I'm like, wow, it's pretty high up there. So I did have a lot of childhood trauma, and I knew that I did. But I could never pinpoint how or where, but this helped me to see that. And I share that because I'm here teaching. But yet, I'm the one that has a 9. Right? Because life experiences happen, but it's what we make with that experience as well, and what we're modeling to our children too, right? Because they're going to pick up on that resiliency. One of the things that
What are the criteria to understand school?
so we don't have it here, but it's called ACEs Too High. It's a website called ACEs Too High, and you go to the website and it tells you all about the survey, about your score, what does it mean, and it's just a really good measurement. I really like going to the website a lot just for reference, and it's for you, it's also for your own, if you do practice, your own private practice or even for your own job, it's helpful to have it there. And one of the stuff that I wanted to go through is our self-care wheel. So let's go to this wheel. The thing and the foundation that's going to help us heal and overcome trauma is self-care. Self-care is essential to healing. And if we don't see it that way, then we're not going to be able to heal from it. It's kind of like that, what they tell you in the airplane. What did they tell you to do? The gas? To
Put the mask on.
The mask is on yourself first before your child. Why is that? Right. Because if I pass out on the airplane, who takes care of my child? No one. Right? It's the same concept at home. And it's a wheel. I want you to see this because those are 6 parts of who we are that need love, tender, and care, and a lot of attention from us as well. And notice how it's a wheel. Right? And it takes us also to using our senses to heal. So our senses can help us heal by finding what helps your brain calm down, because what helps me might not help you. And we all have our own ways of healing. But it's important to see and to use our senses to heal. For example, touch, right? Maybe it's a hug. For example, when I'm overwhelmed, you can talk to me all day long and I'm not hearing you. I need a hug. I'm a hugger. And I couldn't identify that before because touch used to freak me out. So I was like, it doesn't make sense. I want a hug, but I'm scared. Right? That was just a trauma response. So I figured that out with therapy, and it wasn't just the classes. It was a lot of different things that I knew that I needed to take action in so that I could heal. For me, it's also teddy bears, and my daughter, she's big on blankets. Vision, right? Colors, objects, maybe reading, the soft colors. Maybe you're a person that likes to see those things, or affirmation words that are just going to give you that positive, feeling that you need. Sounds, music, soft sounds, or maybe just like water or ocean. I know my daughter loves ocean sounds, right? Or, believe it or not, chewing gum. Chewing gum helps you regulate when you feel overwhelmed. You didn't know, now you know. Also, blowing bubbles and drinking water. Notice how it doesn't say soda, juice, coffee, because those are the 3 things that will heighten your sugar and make you feel even more overwhelmed. So we need to say, stick to water. And give your kids water when you want to regulate as well. And then smells, like for me, is using aromatherapy or pleasant smells, like smelling your favorite flower or emotion or whatever it is that you need. Movement, like what Sophia taught us right now. Really quick. It could be that fast, or maybe for you it's a dance, or exercise, or whatever it is that your body is asking you for. And remember, this is one thing that we forget, to find joy in the journey of healing and recovery. Because we think that it's just sad because it hurts. But we forget that if we don't heal, it's going to hurt. So my doctor, the rheumatologist I see, he always tells me, Karen, you need to move. And I'm like, I don't want to move, it hurts. And he tells me, if you don't move, it's going to hurt. If you move, it's going to hurt. So decide which pain you're going to feel. One pain is going to help you, and the other one isn't. And I'm like, I don't like it, but he's right. And it's the same concept here. Now, I want you to take your attention to the self-care wheel, and then Notice how it's 6 parts. Why do you think it's 6 parts? Very good answer. Anyone else? Why do you think it's a wheel? Our self-care wheel. So your car has 4 tires. What happens if one tire pops? That's a good way to put it. You're off balance. Off balance. Okay. We tend to do 1 or 2 out of these 6. To keep yourself balanced, you need to work on all 6. Doesn't mean you're going to do all of those things. Maybe it's just 1 or 2. Okay, so right now I actually wanted you to take 5 minutes. There's some color pencils there. Do you like to be like me and doodle and color and all that? I love it. So take the time to identify maybe 2 or 3 self-care things that you are doing or would like to do, or you didn't even realize that that's part of self-care. Right? So we're going to take 5 minutes to do that.
As we were doing the ACEs questionnaire, and you flip the sheet and you get the Devereaux resiliency questionnaire, we did that with purpose because I know that we become really activated since we touch on ACEs, right? And for many of us, that was the first time that we were so aware of our adverse childhood experiences. But maybe for some of us, we're like, well, duh, this makes so much sense and doesn't really activate us. It doesn't face us in that same manner. And the resiliency questionnaire probably may have a larger impact because the way that we perceive resilience was more under the lens of surviving versus thriving and like really enjoying life. So as you're looking at this resource that you have with the self-care wheel, one of the biggest factors that or indicators that you'll have a greater chance of being more resilient is if you have a solid support network. What we encourage you to do is actually identify, maybe take a minute right now, and identify an empathy buddy. Is there one person that you can maybe have a consistent meetup with to practice one of these activities with? Because a lot of the talk that we get to hear, and I know that's a lot on my feed, for example, social media is like self-care and that happiness is an inside job and it's only something that I could do on my own. The research indicates that since we're wired for connection, chances are that I'll be able to heal more. My brain is going to be able to rewire if I'm in a positive connection and a healthy connection with somebody else. And it could be definitely a romantic connection, but it could be all types of other connections too as well. As long as we have one person in our lives that is safe for us, that is consistent, and then that's all we need to thrive. So maybe this is a great opportunity for us to heal collectively together. Yeah.
So right now, we're going to give you about 5 minutes so that you guys can share as a group what brought you into the class today, to this workshop today, and anything else that was revealing to you or any aha moments that from any of this information. Remember, this is not the parenting class, this is just a parenting workshop. We do teach these classes, but it's a course of 10 weeks for 2 hours. It's a journey, where we have to, in a sense, rewire the brain because, at least for me, that road of trauma was already carved. And the road of non-violent trauma-informed care wasn't. And that's something that I wanted to carve. And there's some resistance, even for myself, for my family, because my brain is like, wait, I want to go back to the old, right? Because that's the known. And sometimes change is scary, right? But at the same time, one of the quotes that I'll read at the end when we're almost done is, the fact that we can create change. All of us have that ability to do that. So right now, let's just take the moment and share with your groups. So who would like to start first? What team? Not too fast.
Okay, I guess I'll do it. I'm gonna just read what we.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of our themes.
Can you put?
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Oh, sure.
So some of our themes were self-compassion, having compassion for our process, space, giving ourselves space to grow and to change, gaining more awareness and repair, reparenting process, breaking patterns, like if we were raised in a violent environment, like how do we, like try to break those patterns as parents, right? Fuck forgiveness. We just said F, but I went and had dropped the F-bomb because it's important. and kind of what we mean is like, I feel like I'm a survivor, and I feel like a lot of times, or I've heard this in my life, like, just forgive that person or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not ready to do that, and I may never be ready to do that, and I'm at peace with that. And then also having a spectrum of emotions like anger, which is like an emotion that most people don't like to see, and that it's okay to be angry about what's happened and to hold that anger for ourselves and not just push it away because it makes people uncomfortable.
Thank you. Next page, I would like
That's all I'm told.
So the collective theme of our table is parenting is hard. Like really hard. No matter what age, because each age has its different struggles. Whether it's your child's struggles or your own internal struggles with said age. And it's a roller coaster of feelings for them and you. And we were all here today to learn a new set of skills to be able to be a better parent or develop those skills to be able to build that resiliency in our children, whether we ourselves have had traumatic experience or our children have had traumatic experiences, and here to support each other and really learning the importance of validating our children's needs and feelings and our own. That's self-care. So,
thank you.
I think ours is just based on like self-awareness about all the stuff that we talked about. So mostly like parenting skills, learning coping skills, intergenerational trauma. Meaning, as far as like your kids having kids and being able to talk to them about some of that trauma, awareness of trauma, building that resiliency. And then empowering parents plus kids. And the last but not least, we did mental health plus medical. They go hand in hand. So yeah, I think it's just more awareness than anything. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
So for us, I think we went back and forth on, we focused on the wheel, self-care. A lot of us are very connected with massages. Besides trauma informed. Also, we talked about advocacy, advocating for our clients, advocating at different settings at school.
Talking about diversity and inclusion, being mindful of the way that we approach things and the language that we use.
We also, I was saying that happiness is a communal effort, and that, it takes people to heal and to be a part of a community, right? At least that's what biology teaches us. And so this idea that I have to be alone in isolation to be happy before I can connect with people is not true. And that when I'm with people who I feel connected to is when I can feel happy and where I can connect.
We had this spontaneous networking thing that happened, when we all kind of said why we were here, and then everybody started going, oh my gosh, I'd like to contact you for this and that, and it was just, that was really cool.
We also had a connection in talking about how we carry vicarious trauma in the work we do and how that presents for ourselves not only as individuals, as folks, but some of us as parents.
And with that being said, with all the topics that we touched on, harvesting within ourselves and our community, as we said, it's a collective, it's just a collective that we're doing.
Really quick, we didn't go over this. There are some videos in there. This is just, again, another regulation tool. It's small for the purpose because you can throw it in a bag, you can throw it anywhere you need it to. One of the things that we do in our class is we help our parents build a big games backpack or a sensory bag because you want to teach your children how to create their own resiliency as well. So you're not just modeling it for them, but you're teaching them how to create that. So for my daughter, I started when she was about 3. She's 10 now, and now I just have to tell her, hey, Lonnie, your backpack. And she knows, oh, yeah, and exactly what that is needed, and that's part of her self-care.
So hopefully as we've started sharing, you got to hear maybe what was resonating in your table. And that's really important because echoing what the last group said, we're not alone in this. If we identify in the role of a caregiver, we understand that to be caregivers, it wasn't meant to be a one or even a 2-person job. It really literally takes a community, a village, a family, a network to create a safe and stable nurturing environment for our children. So with that being said, Louise talked a little bit about in her presentation about how to be trauma-informed is kind of trendy right now, and everybody has a take on what it is to be trauma-informed. And trauma, just the word trauma in itself, can be very activating. Part of the trauma process, or the recovery process, is to build our own and understand our own coherent narrative. However, what this conference really wanted to highlight was the survivor wisdom that you, just like as Karen, myself, Gabriela, you have wisdom. You are the experts in your own family. And understanding power over versus power with meaning that power over means that an outside institution would tell you what they perceive as the best interest for your family. However, you as the survivor not only has that first-hand experience, but you also know how to identify certain things because you lived through them. So with that, as you continue moving forward with topics that may be perceived as trauma-informed, what we want to offer to the flip side is resilience. Because in the same way that we're talking about epigenetics and how trauma impacts the DNA expression and it's passed on to generationally, so is resiliency. So if we are able to become trauma-informed, then we're also able to really highlight that the reason why you're all here is because someone down your lineage and your ancestry loved you and foresaw this future of you being here. So because someone loved you so much in the past, you were able to be here, and that's what's making you thrive right now. We want that. You want that for the next 7 generations. In order for that to happen, we need to start building that connection and reminding ourselves that we're not just breaking these cycles of violence, what we're uplifting is the resilience, because we're not just what happened to us. A lot of what we are is what's going right in our lives. We have to remind ourselves of that. So parenting after trauma is really leading with that resilience, because there's a lot of things that you're doing right already. So with that, we want to thank you so much for being part of this workshop, and we're going to go ahead. Okay, so we want to end it with the quote: if you want a culture based on caring and meaning, we have to envision it and begin building it ourselves with equilibrium. So just a lot of things to kind of, the resonates. If you want to talk more about this, Karen's also going to be available tomorrow. And we also have information in the info table. Otherwise, we have a special speaker right now at 2:30. So let's go ahead and we'll end that. I know that we have you on the